All right, good morning, everybody. Nikki Burnett here. This is Taste Life Nutrition Radio and Podcast, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. I'm going to move that down so people can see your pretty face.
Okay.
Today we have the amazing Dr. Amy Beckley. She is one of the coolest people I've met and has some really amazing information for us women who are going through different phases in life. So whether it's fertility, if it's PMS, if we are those like me going through perimenopause, going through menopause, lots of really interesting information that we can gather from Amy and all of her science, all of her data, all of her testing that she's created. This is going to be a really, really fun conversation. So I hope that any of you who are women, or if you love women, I hope that you're joining us, because this is going to be a lot. It's going to be interesting and enlightening and a lot of fun, and I'm excited about it. So, Amy, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this for months.
It has been months. Yes.
You know. So first things first, of course, we always start the show with gratitude. Gratitude can change the world. I truly believe that. So, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for an amazing team. Mm-hmm. So I have 14 employees, and they are as passionate, if not more passionate, than I am about women's health, hormones, all the things we're going to talk about, but to be surrounded by good people, and they just love their job. They're so passionate. Actually saw them yesterday doing a photo shoot, and it was really cool.
Oh, fun. So. A photo shoot without you?
Oh, no, I was there. I was there.
Okay, good. Awesome. So I, kind of the same thing. I'm doing a couple of different things where I have my business and then this show, and then I've been collaborating with some physicians to help build their wellness division of their immunology clinic. So this is something that I've been working on for a while, and we're building a really fun team. It's interesting starting over again, but we're starting over again with already kind of like a big footprint. Right. Yeah. And so that's always nice, because he's got 7 clinics. This is his 8th clinic. And also a new division is the Wellness Center. So Immuno Wellness is this new division. This is kind of the first time I'm really talking about it. So we haven't even sent out the press release yet, but that's happening. We're getting everything going and moving and having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, awesome. Super grateful for that. And we have some amazing people who are part of the team who are helping to move it forward. So let's jump in. Let's talk hormones, because
my favorite subject.
I know. Well, they're so confusing.
Yes.
I think that I would say to start out with, and I say this a lot, but I think it's important for anybody who's joining us, and hormones are really confusing. We don't really understand what they are or what they do. And I think at a very basic level, hormones are communicators. And so if our hormones are out of whack, communication's out of whack, right? So everything is kind of out of whack. So let's maybe start with your story, if that's okay, because that's my favorite thing, or it's one of my so many favorite things about this show. But everybody who comes on, and I think everybody in life, has a story that brought them to where they are today. And the people who come on this show are people who are serving, right? I mean, really serving with intensity and love, and it's because of where you came from so often. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is, I'm a scientist. I have a PhD in pharmacology. So I've been studying how hormones work, so how cells talk to each other, organ systems talk to each other, really when something goes wrong. So we're under too much stress, cancer, disease, anything like that, like how the body starts miscommunicating. So here I am, a scientist. I was on birth control for many, 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 many years, like 15, 20. Got
As
married.
Many of us are.
Yeah, no one told me anything about any of that.
I know.
It's a whole other topic in itself.
Okay, on the list for next time.
Yes. Yeah, so come on birth control. I'm like, here I am, this amazing, awesome educated scientist. How hard could it be to get pregnant? It was so hard. Like, I could not get pregnant, and then when I got pregnant, I could not stay pregnant. And when I went to the medical community and said, hey, I need help, like, over here, and they're like, you're young, you haven't been trying long enough. Well, what about these miscarriages? Yeah, it's totally common. If you have 3 in a row, come back and talk to us. I was like, wow, this is kind of messed up.
Well, in the fact that I mean, these are traumatic experiences.
Yes, super traumatic. Yes.
And to say you're young and you're fine, I just think is so, at minimum, unempathetic.
Well, yeah. So healthcare is not proactive, it is reactive. And so you don't have anything wrong with you to react to until you are infertile for 12 months or have 3 miscarriages. So I didn't meet the definitions. They weren't going to be proactive with me. I had to get over the edge of insanity before they're like, okay, cool. Well, we'll offer this thing to you called IVF, and it's only going to cost $40,000.
Yeah.
So it's not really very much help for the healthcare, where they push you over the edge, and then the only thing they have is this, I call medical band-aid, where it's we don't know what's wrong, we can't restore anything, we don't know what to do, we can't fix it, so we're just gonna, you don't need tubes, you don't need, you don't need the sperm to swim to the egg, none of that stuff. We'll just do it in the lab, and and so did 2 rounds of it. I have a 14-year-old son, and then when he was about 18 months old, to my husband, I said, okay, let's do it again. We're not doing IVF. And that time I actually had conversations with my doctor, and we're like, what in the hell did we miss? Why am I unexplained infertile? Why do I keep losing pregnancies? And so long story short, we came across this idea of progesterone. This is why I'm so passionate about hormones. There's this hormone called progesterone that nobody really knows about.
We don't talk about it. We talk about estrogen. We talk about testosterone. We don't ever talk about progesterone.
Right, yeah. So progesterone is progestational hormone, progesterone. And it is needed to, as you guessed it, gestate or be pregnant. I know, who thought? And I wasn't making enough of it. And so during the course of IVF, they pump you full of this stuff because they know that it's required for pregnancy. I said, all right, let's just forget the IVF part. I'll just do the progesterone part and see if that works. And he's like, sure, it's not going to hurt anything. We don't know if it's going to work or not, but it's not going to hurt to try.
So, okay, I have to ask the question because they know during IVF it's going to help you to get pregnant. But then whoever's comment, your doctor's comment his comment was, we don't know if it's going to work.
Yes, because
I don't understand.
Yes, because all the studies that show that progesterone increases pregnancy rates are done in the context of IVF, and they're funded by pharmaceutical companies that make IVF medications.
So is this progesterone, is it a natural or synthetic form of progesterone?
It is a natural.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so we know progesterone is required during a normal healthy cycle to get pregnant. We know it's required or helps with IVF success rates. What we don't know is if you give extra bioidentical progesterone to a natural cycle, does it increase the chances of a natural cycle? That's the research that is just starting to emerge. It is pretty obvious that yes, it will help, but nobody's really done the research. There's nobody out there funding it because it is a generic medication.
Of course.
That there is no financial incentive to spend. I mean, clinical trials are expensive, millions of dollars. Who's got the financial incentive? It's not the IVF clinic that's trying to sell you $40,000 worth of IVF. It's not a pharmaceutical company because it's a generic medication. So it's not really anybody. And so, that was my cure. It's just the same progesterone I took during IVF without the IVF. Under $200. Had my daughter within 2 months, no more miscarriages, and I was like, holy crap, this is a miracle drug. Why are we not talking about this more? And it was just because those reasons, is that there was no incentive to do that research. So I said, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss. Maybe I should have asked.
It's totally fine. Okay. Totally fine.
All right. I was like, forget it. I'm gonna do it. I'm going to educate people about progesterone. I'm going to tell them what it's about, and then they can advocate to their physicians if that was their fix. And so, you know, thinking of, you know, gratitude, how we open this is, I was so thankful that I had this solution, that I didn't have to do this, that I basically came out to my friends and said, this is my situation, and they were like, I've been struggling too. And you hear family and friends going through it in silence, because women don't like to tell people we're struggling, especially if they're trying to build their family. It makes them feel like they're less of a woman, which is 100% not true. And so I helped so many women, you know, friends, family, get through this and educate them, that I'm like, why don't we just try to make a test? Why don't we try to do this? And if people want to buy it, I'll make it, and if they don't want to buy it, I won't make it. And that's how we started Proof.
And they want to buy it. I mean, you're kind of going gangbusters now, aren't you? I mean, things are good. I was on your website. I was stalking you. As I stalk everybody before the show, and I was looking at. You have all of the tests. You've got all of these different products that you have now, and so I don't mean that you jump into that too much yet. Necessarily, we can, but I mean, you've really. How long have you been doing this now?
8 years.
8 years. Very cool. Awesome. And so let's talk about Prove, because I didn't say that. The name of the company is Prove. The name of the testing is Proof Test.
Yep.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah. Progesterone was my miracle. All I needed was progesterone to get pregnant, and there was not a very good home test, or there was no home test to measure progesterone. So, you know, most couples who are trying to conceive do ovulation tests. Those are like a dime a dozen on Amazon, and that's to know what your fertile window is. But there's nothing to measure progesterone to make sure you're actually ovulating, you're making enough progesterone, it's staying up long enough after your cycle to support implantation and pregnancy. And so we invented it. We found that there was a urine metabolite of progesterone you could measure, and so we made a simple test strip that has like lines like a pregnancy or an ovulation test. And you take it at certain points of your cycle, and if it's always positive, it's like, great, you know, you got enough progesterone, like you're good. And if it's not, then it's something you can say, hey, I don't think I'm ovulating, or I'm not making enough progesterone. And you can start that conversation, and you can get them to help you before you go over the edge into insanity.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because I think that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Did you take progesterone throughout your pregnancy?
I stopped at about 16, 18 weeks.
Okay.
So the first trimester of your pregnancy, you are not only growing a human, you're growing a placenta. And the placenta will take over the progesterone production when it gets big enough.
Okay.
We don't know exactly when that happens. It's somewhere between 8 and 10 weeks or so. I wasn't going to risk it. So I would, like, doubled it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
double the time or double the dose?
Doubled the time.
The time.
The
okay.
time. Yeah. I mean, it's bioidentical progesterone. You make a ton of it. It's like my medical advisor said, it's like throwing water in the ocean. Like,
wow.
If you have enough of it, it's great. You just throw more in. It's fine. But it's like if you don't have enough, that's your problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, I wasn't sure if I was making enough of my own, so I just kept
going.
supplementing, and it was not going to hurt anything.
Well, and I think that's good to know, because I think we have been trained, I don't know what the right word is, you know, but through media, through medicine, through whatever it is, that hormones are scary.
Yes. They can be. If you don't know, like estrogen, too much estrogen causes scary things. Too much testosterone causes scary things. But also not enough testosterone or not enough estrogen also cause scary things. And so I think we've taken the approach of like, oh, it's scary, let's just not talk about it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, we should talk about it, and we should find ways to measure it and to fix it, because you don't want too much, but you also don't want too little. And, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but we are just an unhealthy society. Like the water we drink, the cars we drive, the food we put in our mouth, like it's just not as good as it used to be, just because we have so much stuff around us. That hormone imbalance affects 90% of women. And it's not really our fault. It's just this is the society we live in, so we have to be more cautious about what we're doing, and then how we measure hormones, how we know if our hormones are balanced or not based on the different symptoms. Supplement. It's just like, you take a multivitamin for general well-being. Like, why wouldn't you want to support hormone health?
Yeah. So I want to kind of jump into that just a little bit, because I think that if you listen to the show a lot, then you probably have heard me talk about this, but if you don't, then you may or may not know. So I think it's important that we jump into it a little bit. But when we talk about hormones, in our environment, I mean, we literally have hormone disruptors in our environment that are estrogen mimickers. So I know we're talking about progesterones, but having too much estrogen can throw your progesterone balance off. Yes.
Yep. Low progesterone also is called high estrogen, because you need an equal amount of each to balance them out. And so if you have too much estrogen, it's like saying low progesterone.
Yeah. So in the food that we eat, pesticides and herbicides, they are considered, among many horrible things, xenoestrogens. The products that we use on our body can contain xenoestrogens. The toxicants in our air, the things that we use to clean our homes, these things are all, again, along with many problems that they are xenoestrogens, which are estrogen mimickers. And so what they do is they bind really tightly to estrogen receptor sites, and they don't allow our natural estrogen to do their job. So it throws our whole endocrine system out of whack. And so we have these crazy PMS symptoms. Then we could move into PCOS, which is elevated testosterone and blood sugar and these things. But the fact is, we have so much control over this, but we got to know what it means, how we got to test, we got to understand what our levels are, and we've got to understand what is in the stuff that we're eating and using in our bodies and using in our environment, because we can mitigate a ton of this. And then if we're still having some issues, that's when we start to think, okay, I now need to support my body better so it has the ability to manage to deal with the insults that we can't control, because there are a lot of things that we can't control. Some things we can't control, and so we want to understand what that looks like. And that's why we go to people who are, what I say, is part of our team. So whether it's the people who are developing the testing, the people who understand the nutrition, the people who understand the medical piece of it, all of these people come together to help guide you. We can't all know everything.
Right.
Anyway, so I want to make sure that, I think so many people don't realize the amount of hormonal influence in our environment that can be so problematic.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. I also want to talk about, you can have these external factors like hitting your system and your body, and I like to call it like a washing machine. You put your dirty clothes in your washing machine, it cleans them, and then out comes these beautiful, awesome clothes. But if you don't have a good washing machine, you're never going to get it clean. That is your digestive system. This is why we talk about, like, are you pooping regularly? What is the shape of your poop and the consistency and all this stuff? And do you have gas and you have bloating? Because if you have all these things on you and you can process them really well, you're better off than a person who can't.
Right.
And so another thing I've learned about hormones is, like, you can have the same hormone level. Like, I can have the same hormones as you, and we can have totally different symptoms. Like, I can be a hot mess, and you can be like, oh no, I'm great. And it's because how we process, other things going on, our digestion, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So just hormone levels is not sufficient. It's like, what are your symptoms, everything else. So that's why we do, like, the hair analysis. And like, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You need all the pieces.
It is. Well, it's important to understand that just because that you're different than I am, I'm different than you are, and I'm different than everybody else in the entire world. And so we function differently, we deal with things differently, we have different genetic variants that may allow us to detoxify or not detoxify properly. Then, just like you said, which I think is really fun, is you don't expect when we're talking about hormones to start talking about pooping, but we have to. It's all connected. It's so important to make sure that everything is moving through. And that's one of the things that I have to make sure when I'm talking with my clients. They hate it too. They're like, do we have to talk about this with me? Are you going every day?
You can either tell me what it is, or you can take a picture, and I can.
Yeah, right. Oh, the pictures I have. It's true, though. It's true. We have to be moving every single day. And if you are not moving every day, if you're moving every other day, if you're moving once a week, there is a huge, huge problem beyond just being toxic. I mean, everything is backed up and stopped up and will create I just can't even. I mean, it's awful. So understanding that really we should be going after every meal. You know, our dogs, after they eat, they always go poop. You know, why aren't we doing that? That's how it's supposed to be. I have my friend Steve watching. Hey, Steve, I know you're enjoying this. Anyway, so yeah, we have to continue to function at an optimal level to really make sure that we're getting everything in line. So, I had a question regarding the testing, because one of the things that you said a few minutes ago was that your placenta starts to produce its own progesterone at a certain point during pregnancy, but you don't know when that is. So can you test that? And does it matter?
You can. So, the theory is, you know, you get to 14 weeks, your placenta has developed, it's making its own progesterone, you can stop the supplements. That's like the worst case scenario, like it's okay, but that's a theory. Again, that's like what the science book tells us, that's what the medical thing says is what's supposed to happen. We don't know that actually happens. I couldn't make the progesterone, my ovary couldn't make the progesterone for long enough, so obviously my body is not normal. Something is wrong. And so for these type of people, they're like, I don't know if I should stop the supplemental progesterone. Go get blood tests. You know, like, don't take your morning dose, go and get a blood test, see what's going on, see how, you know, are you dropping levels as you kind of withdraw from it. But you're gonna have to do that yourself. Most doctors don't really do that. There are a few cases where the placenta never takes over. I think it is rare. There's also cases of premature birth. So you can have enough progesterone and then you can start dropping it at like 28, 30 weeks, and that causes premature birth. And so women will actually take progesterone in the third trimester to maintain a pregnancy. So those who've had you know, babies at 30, 32 weeks, something like that, they'll put them on progesterone. So like I said, you make a bucket of this stuff, having extra is not going to hurt anything. So yeah, you can measure it. It's not standard of care because it's what's supposed to happen.
So if somebody wanted to, because I know that the way that you have developed your testing kits is you have them where they are at a price point where it's manageable to have several kits, and so people can continue to test to understand where their levels are throughout quarterly or however it is that they want to test. Yes. And so
yeah, if you break it down to like a daily thing, it's like $2-3 a day to test.
Okay. Yeah, pretty
yeah, it's, I mean,
approachable.
It's, to test your hormones is cheaper than to buy a Starbucks coffee. By far now.
Yeah.
It's my daughter's birthday and she's like, I was like, $8?
What, really?
Yes. $8.
That's why I make my coffee at home.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's her birthday. That's it.
Yeah.
It's her birthday.
So, okay, there's so many questions about this. If so, and I think I'm asking sort of the same question over again. But if somebody wanted to, they could supplement progesterone throughout an entire pregnancy to be on the safe side.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So another question I have, and I heard this, I don't remember if I asked you this while we were having breakfast or not, but I'm going to ask you again anyway. One of the things that I heard from another clinician was that anybody younger than 40 should be on 100 milligrams of progesterone. Anybody over 40 should be on 200 milligrams of progesterone. Have you ever heard that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I don't not like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can't just like blanket give it to people, because if you give women who, for example, are trying to get pregnant progesterone and they take it every single day, that's also called birth control, and it will prevent your body from ovulating.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't do that.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with it. You just have to make sure you ovulate first. So progesterone is only present in the second half of the cycle. So estrogen is present in the entire cycle. Estrogen surges, comes down a little bit, and then progesterone goes up, and then estrogen kind of stays not high but not low, but just kind of in the middle. And so if you take your progesterone too soon, you prevent your body from making it because you're not ovulating anymore, which is not necessarily a bad thing. We don't have to ovulate. Like hormone replacement is you're giving your body the hormones, replacing them, but you're not actually releasing eggs. The only time you actually need the egg is if you're trying to get pregnant.
Right.
So I've seen so many doctors, and I don't know why they do this. A woman will come in and her tests look like trash, and I'm like, they're like, oh, I hate proof. It's wrong. I'm like, what kind of things are you taking? She's like, oh, well, my doctor told me to take 100 milligrams of progesterone every day. I was like, no wonder you can't get pregnant. Like,
wow.
Your progesterone is high the entire cycle and you're not ovulating.
That's fascinating that a doctor, I mean, how...
They also, so I have a love-hate relationship with this, where a lot of doctors won't prescribe progesterone because it is so hard to dose. In that you have to be active. You have to have the patient be active. And you can't just say, take it the last 15 days of your cycle, or take it every single day. You have to say, you have to wait till you ovulate, then 2 days, and then take it. And so they have to be measuring their hormones. They can't be guessing at it. And so it's a lot of times very difficult for that compliance. So, but I don't think you should punish everybody.
Right.
And say nobody can have it. I think you should take to the patient. It's like, okay, it's really important that you ovulate before this. Are you going to be tracking your ovulation? Yes? Okay, cool. Take this after, like it's a simple thing. But the other thing with healthcare is doctors just don't get enough time to talk about things. I had a doctor tell me one time, an OBGYN, she doesn't do any kind of fertility care because she doesn't have time to explain to women what cycle day 3 is.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
So she was like, yeah, do your hormone testing on cycle day 3. And so they go, oh, September 3rd, cool, I'm going to go do my cycle day 3. But it's like, so again, it's lack of basic education for women too. And it's like, it's created this like, almost this like negative feedback loop where it's so hard and then there's no education, and then it's like, well, I don't have time to educate you, I'm just not going to do it, and then we just get in this bad loop. And so, I'm excited you guys are having these new clinics where we get to have this education and women get to be part of this and not kind of brushed off. And it's not, it is, I blame healthcare. I blame our education and our healthcare insurance reimbursement structure as the problem.
Oh, agreed.
It's not doctors.
100%. No.
It's, no.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So... I had 3 thoughts and now they all just went away.
Just 3?
Just 3, like all at one time. So I have to determine which one comes first. So I think one of my thoughts was that's why I am so grateful for what I do, because no, I don't have clinical training, right? Not really. I'm not a doctor, but I have the ability and the want to spend as much time with my clients as they want and as they need, instead of saying, okay, I can't explain to you what day 3 is. Which leads me to my other thought was, I have been on this soapbox over, I don't know if it's been the last year, 2 years, or whatever it is, about the fact that women talk a lot. They talk a lot to each other, but we know nothing about what our cycles mean. We know nothing about perimenopause, what to expect when it happens, how to know what to look for. We don't know menopause. We know what it all means, but when we start to go through it, it's like, it's just, we're like, what is happening and why is this happening, and I don't understand and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And why are we not talking about it? Which is why I think I've done 2 or 3 like perimenopause, menopause shows in a row now. Because like, sorry guys, but you know, we got to start talking about this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, go back to birth control. I mean, my daughter's 11. She just turned 11 2 days ago, and she's gonna start her period soon. And standard healthcare status quo type of thing is to put them on an IUD or birth control or something like that, because they get symptoms, they get painful periods, and they get acne, and like, let's just get rid of the symptoms. Your body's getting used to making hormones. Your body needs hormones. Every single cell in your body has a receptor for these hormones. Like, if you suppress them during puberty, like, we don't even know the repercussions, because this is a brand new thing that we're doing to children. So everybody is taught, not everybody, a lot of people are taught, oh, just take this birth control, it's going to manage these symptoms, it's going to be great. And they are not taught that it will stop them from ovulating. It turns off their hormones. Nobody is taught that. Because when you come out on the other side, and we have women that are taking our perimenopause tests, and they're like, yeah, I'm on birth control, and then they like email us in, and their hormones are just like flatline. They're like, I think your test is broken. And I'm like, no, you're not making hormones. They're like, what? Yeah, I am, because I'm on a hormonal IUD. I'm like, that is a synthetic hormone. It doesn't do the same thing. They're like, wait a minute. It was just like light, you know? It was like, why didn't anybody tell me this?
So here's the thing too that I think is so scary and so fascinating, and this is a personal experience of mine as well, is hormones being communicators. You know, when we have hormones that are, I mean, the reason, part of them is that's how we attract each other, right? This is how I know the type of man I want in my life is based on hormones. I know what I'm attracted to. What can happen is we take these hormones away, or we substitute them, or we suppress them, or whatever the case may be. It changes what we want, what we need, what we like, what we're driven to be attracted to. And so my own experience is I was dating my now husband, and there was a point we were like, okay, well, something needs to happen here, you know? And so I was like, and I didn't want to get on the pill, but I didn't know what else to do. So I went, okay, I'm going to go get on the pill. And I'm going to tell you, I'm married to a really freaking funny man. And one day I was driving up to his condo. I was like, I don't know if I really like him. You know, it was this really weird, I was like, he just wasn't really as funny anymore. And I was having these thoughts going, something is going on. It kind of gives me chills to even think about it. But I'm grateful to have had the awareness that something was up.
Yeah.
And I got off of him. And it totally changed everything about that. And it never got to any kind of weird place, but I just felt like, what is happening here? Why do I not think he's very funny anymore? And you can't help but to think, what would happen with the divorce rate?
But, right, because I was going to say, most of the time it's the opposite, where everyone's on birth control, and then they get married, then they come off birth control to try to have kids. And it's like, oh my God, I actually hate you. Like, you're not attractive to me anymore. Like,
yeah. It's not okay.
It's not.
And putting our children as they're developing, I mean, the mental and the emotional piece of it, beyond just everything else that goes along with it, it's horrific.
Yeah.
And so these are the things that we need to talk about. We need to hear this as young parents. We need to hear this as older parents who have, you know, kids, or kids who are, you know, growing up. And I mean, these are game changers. These are life changers. And we just think, oh, it's not a big deal. It's just the pill, and I don't want my kid to get pregnant.
You know what? what causes pregnancies? Teach your children that.
It's the truth. It's the truth, right? A little bit of responsibility goes a long way. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this. Let's talk. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just talked to you for hours.
I know. I feel like we haven't really talked about anything important yet.
Just soapbox. We're going to stay on a soapbox for a while. So I think I want to talk about your testing, why it's different.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
going from there.
Yeah, sure. So hormones change. So we talked about ovulation, and the two main hormones involved in ovulation are estrogen and progesterone. And they go up and they come back down, and then they go up and they come back down. So they just constantly fluctuate. That's what they're designed to do. That's what they're supposed to do. And so you can't measure them on one single point in time and be like, oh yeah, your hormones are great. It's like, well, that minute right there when you drew my blood, great, but what about tomorrow or the next week?
And I have to say too, I can't help it, but women I think are really confused when they go to their doctor draws their blood, here are your hormones, and it's no specific time during the month. It's just like, okay, here are your hormones.
Yeah.
What is this telling me?
I
And
know.
what's the day of the month? And I mean, we have to be strategic about it if that's how we're going to go about it. Anyway.
I know. I went to I was doing research, and I went down to some clinic in Denver. I honestly don't even remember what the name was, but they did pellets, and they were like, well, your symptoms say you need this pellet and this pellet, and it was the estrogen pellet and the testosterone pellet. And I'm like, okay, but I would really feel comfortable if you did some blood work. Okay, sure. And they're like, okay, go down. There's a lab. Does it matter what cycle day I'm on? They're like, no, it doesn't matter.
What?
What?
Well, and
I was like, okay, you're not putting any pellets in my ass. Like, hard pass. Like, we're out. Yeah. So back on the testing is, you can't do it one time. You can't do it one time. You've got to do it more. And so, we do urine-based testing, and it all runs through an app. And so you wake up in the morning, the app tells you it's a test day or not, and you take your test, and we build the patterns. And so if you're trying to conceive, you take 17 tests that month, because we need to see how many eggs you have left, your full fertile window, so you can time intercourse. How healthy is your luteal phase? That's a lot of testing. But if you're in perimenopause, or you have a hormone imbalance when you're in your late 30s, early 40s, anywhere in that range, you test 4 times. And so it's 1, 2, 3, and 4 weeks. And we look at, are your hormones low when they're supposed to be low? Is estrogen high when it's supposed to be high? Is progesterone high when it's supposed to be high? And is it remaining high when it's supposed to be remaining high? Yeah. Those are the key events that have to happen in a cycle. And we match those with symptoms. And so like I said, you can't just measure hormones, you have to do symptoms too. And so, you can have somebody with kind of lower estrogen and lower progesterone, but they don't really have any symptoms. Don't fix it. It's fine. Or you can have somebody who has just massively high estrogen and massively high progesterone. Maybe they're taking a whole bunch of like estrogens, or they're really healthy diet or whatever, and they have so many symptoms. Now you need to like rid yourself of hormones, like bring them down, or you have too much estrogen, not enough progesterone, or whatever it is. But yeah, so that's what we do, is we really try to understand the patterns. We try to educate on like what your hormones are supposed to do, why you get symptoms. It's not because like PMS, for example, is a drop in progesterone either before it's supposed to happen, or a very dramatic drop. And so, PMS can be a lot of times fixed with, supplementing with progesterone, so you don't get that dramatic drop in hormone all of a sudden.
Fascinating.
Yeah, heavy periods are usually too much estrogen to not enough progesterone. Our first hormone to go in perimenopause is progesterone, not estrogen. Estrogen we have for 5 to 8 years longer than we have progesterone.
Interesting.
And so the first hormone women in their 40s should be thinking about is progesterone. So like kind of that idea of like everyone should be on 100, you hit 40, you get 200. Yes, like that is the first hormone to go. Caveat being, if you're trying to get pregnant, you got to time it right.
Right. Sure. Okay, so your testing though, you are testing more than progesterone and estrogen. You're testing luteinizing hormone and
we do. So there are 4 main hormones that are involved in ovulation. 2 of them are actually that tells your brain to talk to your ovaries. And so FSH is the first one, so follicle stimulating hormone. That is what happens at the beginning of your cycle to tell your ovaries, like, come on, it's time to ovulate, start to go. And then when FSH signals to the ovary will start developing a follicle, and that will make estrogen. When estrogen gets to a certain point, another signal from the brain gets released, and that is LH, or luteinizing hormone. That signals down to the ovary, hey, we got a mature follicle. In that follicle is a nice fat, mature egg. It's time to release it, aka ovulation. So then that comes down, you ovulate, the egg releases, and then the follicle in the ovary, it like comes on itself, and it's now called the corpus luteum, and that's what makes progesterone. So if you are not ovulating, you are not making progesterone. And so that ovary will then make progesterone for 12 to 14 days, and if it does it not make it long enough, because you have an unhealthy ovary like what I had, then you have issues like PMS, infertility, can't hold pregnancies, heavy periods, painful periods, PCOS. Doesn't cause PCOS, but it's a symptom of PCOS.
Sure, yeah.
So our test will measure all 4 of those. So
Nice.
FSH, LH, estrogen, and progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone via the urine metabolites.
That's awesome. I have a story of a client I had who was struggling with really terrible PMS symptoms, like debilitating pain, putting her into the emergency department, the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So her doctor put her on one form of birth control, then put her on another form of birth control because it wasn't controlling her symptoms, and she ended up feeling suicidal. So I tell that story because, for one, doubling up on these hormones is not necessarily the answer, but they can impact us. We have these crazy suicide rates. We have girls who aren't understanding their bodies. We have all of these things going on. And we don't think about these drugs that we're being put on, because they're drugs that we're being put on. How is that impacting this? So much of these things to think about and make sure that we're considering. And like you said, just don't do the synthetic hormones. I mean, they're just so problematic anyway.
I mean, just like you said that there's compounds that are xenoestrogens that act like estrogen, but they don't actually do what they're supposed to do. That is a synthetic estrogen. It sits on there, binds the receptor, but it doesn't have the same structure to activate what's supposed to happen. And so it will do the thing, as in it will, you won't ovulate, and it's birth control. It's birth control. Like, birth control was designed to have you not ovulate, release eggs. They did not look at what else it does.
Right.
All the other side effects or other things that it does, they were just like, oh, does it stop you from ovulating? Yes? Okay, cool. Birth control. Done. And now we're like using it off label for all these other things when it's not designed to do that, and we don't know what it does. I mean, I guess we do know what it does. If you're on birth control, I like to say this to my mom friends: if you put your children on birth control because of heavy periods, painful periods, acne, oily skin, whatever the situation is, that girl is going to be at a higher risk for infertility later in life, because those symptoms are symptoms of hormone imbalance that you're not addressing.
You're not addressing the root cause.
And all of a sudden you're going to just kick that can down the line. And so like, if you don't want grandkids, cool.
This is great.
You gotta frame it the right way.
I love it. It's so true. So I think that when we met for breakfast, that your perimenopause kits had not come out yet.
Yep, they're out now.
And so they're out now.
I actually brought you one as a present.
Oh, great. I already know, but no, I'm just kidding. I do want to know, and thank you, because
the kit does 2 things. The first one is it perimenopause, right? So a lot of people in their 30s and 40s feel off. they feel imbalanced, they feel something's going on. They might even go to the doctor. Oh, everything's fine. I don't see anything issues, whatever. And they're like, but I just don't feel right. And so the first thing is that not feeling right, is it because of perimenopause? You don't know. Right? It could be something totally, it could be PCOS, it could be endometriosis, it could be a thyroid issue, it could be a host of things. And the second one is, okay, it is or is not perimenopause. Now let's look at your hormones. Are they balanced? How are your symptoms? You know, when do you have symptoms? How do they relate to your hormones? And then we figure out, are you, have optimal levels throughout your cycle? And if the answer is no, we give you personalized solutions to help your body make balanced hormones. Or we will connect you to, doctors who can give you hormones to help you balance them.
Bioidentical hormones.
Bioidentical for sure. Yeah. Diet, lifestyle, mental support, all those kind of things, really to just help you support them. So we have women in their 34 actually woman. She actually got really mad at me. She's like, "It said I was premenopausal." I'm like, "Yeah, you probably are premenopausal, like the kit says, but you definitely have a hormone imbalance." That we can fix. It does not have to be perimenopause.
Right.
We can still fix the hormone imbalance.
It's funny how people can get so angry at a test.
Well, people want validation. They want to know, oh, I'm not crazy. You're not crazy. It's your hormones are changing. And they can be changing because of perimenopause, or they could be changing for something else. And I don't want to give you false information and tell you it's perimenopause when it's not. But at the end of the day, you still have a hormone imbalance, which we've still identified and still can help you through that, And so people think a certain way, and then they get a different answer, and sometimes they're just not happy about it.
Yeah, it happens.
I mean, we got a lot of people in the fertility space that were just so pissed with us. They were just like, "How dare you say this? My doctor said." And I'm like, "Oh, your IVF doctor? What are they gonna do? Oh, IVF? Cool." This is a public service announcement for anybody who's listening. If you go take a test, or if you go ask somebody for something, you need to want to hear the answer. It might not be the answer you want. As long as the answer is like, "No, I'm not going to help you," forget it. There's value in that. Right? I mean, I always tell women in the fertility space, this is the best kind of infertility you can have if you're going to have infertility, because it is the easiest to fix. There are bioidentical hormones that fix it. Your body's not making them. You don't want to correct your lifestyle. And that's the first option, but that takes a while. Second option, we'll just give you the hormones, and then it fixes the problem. If you don't have sperm, or you don't have eggs, or your tubes are, that's a really, really hard problem to have. So, when you're seeking help, you have to lean into the professional that's giving you the help and hear the answer. If you don't believe in hormone imbalance, or you don't believe in gut health, don't get a stool test.
Right.
It's not going to go well.
Yeah. Are you seeing patients, clients? Do you see people, or are you just more the?
We're the testing. So we kind of started off and made a line in the sand where it's we're the ones that do this hormone testing. The people that do the medical care is on the other line. We didn't want to do both. And so we work with physicians and doctors and healthcare professionals who understand the tests and know how to treat patients, but we don't do the treatment itself. So when I talk about these women, it's the people that are in our support communities, people who comment on our Facebook group, or talk into the customer support channel. And I mean, we monitor it. We want to make sure we're giving women the best information they possibly can, what kind of misconceptions, what kind of miseducation they have. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Actually, I have a client right now that I'm going to have her take your tests. That'll be good.
Well, I got one over here for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so you also have, though, some progesterone that you have created.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is lovely because it's sort of lemony deliciousness.
Yes. You know, I go back to this idea of healthcare being very reactive and not very helpful. And we would see so many women that just had progesterone deficiencies, and okay, we're gonna make a bioidentical, it's called balancing oil. It has bioidentical progesterone in it. It's got vitamin E. Like, you shake it and it makes it so much more bioavailable. It absorbs in the skin better than like creams. And it's a way to help women, give them things that maybe they couldn't get at traditional medicine. We also have herbal supplements that help you either metabolize estrogen, so get rid of those excess estrogens, help you boost estrogen, so that's kind of for that more late perimenopausal women not making enough estrogen. And then we have a supplement that helps your body actually make progesterone.
Nice.
And so we are really focused on things that help balance hormones. And then that's what we'll do with the kit is if we feel like a supplement could help you, that's recommended for you. If you're 54 and you're not making hormones, we're not going to suggest supplements because you can't make hormones anymore.
Right.
We go straight over to HRT.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. And I do forget that typically the progesterone is topical.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right, cool. We are, I don't know what time it is actually, but that's okay.
I think 11:01.
There it is. 11:01. I can't believe it. We need to do this again because
we really didn't talk about anything, did we?
I think we talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. Well, so I guess that would lead to the question, the important question. Is there anything that we didn't hit that you want to touch on?
I mean, I think a lot of times everyone's like, well, what's the best kind of advice you can give to a woman? And it's like, really, women have this intuition about their bodies and their health, and you should follow it. If something's wrong, if something doesn't feel right, if you're talking to a doctor, it just doesn't make sense to you, you're hiring that person. That's something you hired as part of your life. You don't have to stay with them. You can go somewhere else. There's many people that will provide the care that you want to be provided, right? If you want a certain type of care and your neighbor wants different type of care, fine, But yeah, advocate for yourself. And then the other one is to get to the best resolution the fastest that you're going to be happy with. It takes two things. It takes an educated healthcare professional, and it takes an educated patient. So when you know more about your body and something going on with you, and you go to somebody knowledgeable, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah.
So don't be scared to learn about hormones, to listen to podcasts, read books, educate yourself, because your school's not going to do it, your healthcare provider's not going to do it, there's nobody else is going to do it. Like, you just have to do it yourself.
Well, and I think it's, one of the things that I say probably too often is that we've forgotten how to listen to our bodies. We've forgotten that our body's always talking to us. Yeah. And then with that, there becomes a lack of trust in our own body. And I think we know when something's not right. We know when there's a problem, even when someone tells us, no, your labs are fine. I mean, this is the stuff that I hear and see all the time. It's like, I see the lab work, but I also hear what this person, this woman or even a man is saying, And so we have to learn how to look deeper, how to dig deeper, how to ask the right questions, how to learn how to trust our own bodies and our own innate ability to know that there's something wrong, and not let someone tell you that you're fine, because that's what I hear all the time.
Yeah.
Is you're fine.
Yeah, normal is different than optimal when it comes to blood work. So if you look at a lot of the things, it's like the huge, ginormous, massive range It's like estrogen could be 5 or 500, and that is normal.
Yeah.
But optimal range is like, 100 to 200, right? And so in thyroid, you see this in thyroid health a lot.
All the time.
All the time. Same thing with hormones, right? And, a lot of doctors don't know what that optimal range is, because they go by the LabCorp, the KUHS report says, oh, it's in range, okay.
When what's so frustrating too is if you're looking at general ranges, different labs have different general ranges.
Yes.
Like, what is that?
Yes, so I actually did that. It's a very fascinating, interesting thing is I was doing my proof test with the urine test, and I was getting my labs drawn to see how it correlated with blood. And so I'd do the urine test, I'd get in the car, I'd go to the lab, and the first 2 times I went to LabCorp. And the second time, she destroyed it. Finally got healed, but it was the biggest bruise. Like I think she was just so busy that she didn't even put the tourniquet on there. Nothing. It was and it was a huge bruise. It looked like I was a druggie. I'm like, I'm not going there anymore. I'm going to KUHS. It was a little bit further down the road, but I went to KUHS for the second 2 blood draws, and I'm like, why is this weird? Like, measuring different units, different ways, different ranges for the estrogens. And I think one of them was total estrogens, the other one was just E2. And so there's 3 main types of estrogen, 1, 2, and 3. Estradiol, E2 being the main one. And so, but they were different because they're being measured differently. And I'm like, I didn't even catch that. And I'm a hormone scientist that does it for a living. So
it can be really confusing and really hard. One of the things, even in functional medicine, you can have, the different variations in how they're measuring or the amount they're measuring. But we have fairly specific ranges, I think, in functional medicine, functional nutrition, either way. Which are more narrow, which are the more optimal ranges that we want to look at so we can understand, again, our body. The way that I like to look at it is, if we're looking at typical lab ranges, your general lab ranges, you can see it as more, maybe pathogenic, whereas if you're looking at functional lab ranges, more things come up, so we have more red flags, we have more to go off of, we have more pieces of the puzzle, as you had said earlier too, because I say that a lot also, is pieces of the puzzle to put together to start to understand your body, because your body is not a general lab range.
Right. Yeah, I think the easiest analogy I like to use is weight and BMI. So a BMI of 35 is 40 is considered obese, but overweight is 35. I don't know what the numbers are. It's been a while. But optimal is 25. And so if someone's at 28 or 29 and they go to the doctor oh, but you're not obese, we're not going to give you these medications or support you in any way. But I'm 28 and I want to be 25. But you don't qualify, right? So I personally just started metformin, and the first doctor, I had to beg her. I had to get on my knees and beg her. She's like, but you're not insulin resistant. You don't have diabetes. I'm like, my mother has type 2 diabetes. I'm not obese, but I'm not underweight. I'm trying to be preventive of this. So she finally said yes.
Interesting.
But I don't know, more soapboxes, I guess.
Yeah. How many soapboxes can we hit today?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so tell people where you can be found.
So our fertility tests can be bought in CVS and Walgreens across the U.S.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Good for you.
It's called Fertility 4-in-1, and it screens for, how many eggs you have left, if you're ovulating, if you have any hormone issues.
Doesn't it also look at egg quality?
No test can determine egg quality. Egg quantity. So the number of eggs, but the quality, not a single test that's ever been invented can tell you egg quality.
So help me, because now I'm just a huge brain fart. What's the test that there's something that I thought did test egg quality.
AMH?
Yes, thank
That's
you.
egg quantity.
That is
number.
egg quantity.
Yeah. Yep.
Why did I think it was quality? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so egg quality is the DNA inside the eggs, and as you get older, your DNA repair mechanisms just stop working, and so you will get damage from being in the sun, eating bad food, being sick. Like there's just life does this.
So be careful. The sun doesn't make it isn't bad.
No, it's not. No, it's not bad. No, it's not bad. I'm saying that this is normal as part of every like anything you do, like
we're
lights,
gonna age.
Anything. Your DNA gets damaged, but you have repair mechanisms in your cell that repair them.
Right.
But as you get older, they stop working, and so the DNA can't get repaired, and so it's fine in like usually in your body it constantly like cellular renewal, and it's not an issue. Your eggs don't renew. And so those mutations just grow and grow and grow. So egg quality is correlated to your age, typically. So that more age you are, the older you are.
The more age you are.
I know. I'm like, what?
I like it.
The older you are, the more damage there is. But some people have less damage. Some people have more damage, but we don't have a test for that. There's no test for that.
Fascinating. Okay.
The test is like, I went to IVF and I got no embryos. Like, well, you got bad egg quality.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So Walgreens and CVS if you want the fertility screening stuff. Amazon for any of our tests, fertility, menopause, supplements, all that stuff is on Amazon. And then our website, Prove Test, PROOV test.com. And if you are hungry for education and all that stuff, join the email list. A whole bunch of amazing blogs, educational content. And then if you ever want to test, you'll get discount codes. And if not, just take the education and educate yourself.
Yeah, it's really key to everything. It's just having the knowledge to make the right decisions or make the right decisions for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Do you have a code that you want to give? Didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah. I think we have email 10. So if people email 10, it'll save 10%.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I know that one works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, this can be so many things in the whole marketing world. It can be.
Yeah. But we are starting an advocate program after a bunch of requests from the community. So you can join the advocate program, and we get you a special code. And when your patients use that code, they'll save like 20%.
Oh, nice.
And so they get a bigger percentage than just like not a generic code like email 10.
Right. Yep.
Right. Because we want practitioners that are doing good things to empower themselves, and we love patients that work with practitioners, and so we really want to make sure that's a good relationship.
Yeah.
So those are going to be the highest discounts is if you're working with a practitioner, and we know you're in good hands.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Awesome. Well, I'm excited. I need to do that because, like I said, I do have a client who I want to have her take your testing. She's in that phase, the happy phase. She's getting married and all of the things. So.
So awesome.
Yeah, I know. I'm really excited for her. So, man, let's definitely do this again. This was really fun. I think we got a lot of good soapboxes that we were able to jump on.
Yes.
So, many more to come. Anyway, reach out to Prove or go to the website. So much goodness on there. Like I said, I was stalking it earlier today and digging in. So it's a lot of fun. I love the research, and I love that you love the research too. I like big brains. Big brains make me really happy. So of course you can find me, tastelifenutrition.com. We're here every Thursday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. You can go to my website, Taste Life Nutrition, of course, and fill out a free assessment, or I can reach out to you. We can chat a little bit about what might be going on and if I can help or if I know somebody who can. And then the new venture working with Immuno Wellness is the company name. The larger corporation is Veros Health. They're local here to the Denver, Colorado area. big immunology clinic full of really, really complicated cases. And so bringing on wellness for their, a wellness branch for their really complicated cases, I'm really excited about. I think that lifestyle medicine is key to a lot of these things. And so it's good stuff. I'm really excited to be a part of something new and something that's going to be a really big deal in my mind. So let me know if there's anything that anybody needs. I'm here to be a resource, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye, Steve. I went to college with him.